Green Crypto Research, welcome to the Smart Talk. I'm super happy that you guys are able to come here tonight. Is it possible for you guys to introduce yourselves and talk to us a little bit about what you do?
Sure. Thank you very much for having us. It's exciting to be here. So let me start off by introducing myself first. My name is Isabel. I'm one of the three founding members of Green Crypto Research. I currently take on the role of the president, and with me is Tim, and I let him introduce himself as well.
Yes, my name is Tim. Thanks for setting it up, Benjamin, and also for everyone listening. I'm based in Zurich, and I have been part of Green Crypto Research for now half a year. I came a bit later to the show because also, the other participants, all the members of the group are very good friends of mine. I've been interested in crypto for quite some time, and for me it was often a problem. First of all, the E dimension, and then also the governance dimension, which we'll be talking about later. So I think there's a lot of impact to be reached in this space.
Yeah, exactly. That's really one of the main reasons, right, why we started Green Crypto Research. It was important to us. So first, I think it would make sense to talk a little bit about who we are and what we do. And when I start by myself, I would say I'm a marketeer through and through. So this is all my background, right? I've studied communication, and then I've done marketing all the time, partially in the financial industry at some point in a pension fund. That was not really my world, to be honest, for a while in F&B. In the last few years, I've been in real estate. And in real estate, when you talk about strategic consulting at portfolio level, sustainability is really one of the core top trending topics I worked with over the last 4 years. So that's really how I got into sustainability at large, because carbon emissions in the building process and power consumption of buildings is a problem worldwide. And I was into sustainability before I was into crypto. And in early 2021, I got introduced to the world of sustainable cryptos, mostly by my brother and his best man, who both are also the other two founding members of Green Crypto Research. And they came to me with a very specific problem, because they said, we're looking to invest in sustainable cryptocurrencies and we cannot find any information. So we figured, why not get together in a group and help each other out, find the information we need and share it with each other so we can have a better judgment of what to invest in. And that's what we did for a while. So there was a lot of talk, a lot of sharing ideas, and we pretty quickly realized that we need a structured approach if you really want to make sure that our investments are sustainable. And that's how we developed Green Crypto Research. And that was in March 2021 already. We founded an association, an NPO. And in June, we went live with our homepage. In October of last year, we published the first ESG rating worldwide for the 10 largest native coins. And of course, we started off with Bitcoin and Ethereum, kind of as a baseline. And from there, it grew bigger and bigger. And then in November of last year, we onboarded 2 new team members, one of them being Tim, who is in charge of research, together with Dominic, also one of the founding members, like I told you. And today we have about 50 coins and tokens rated. And in December of that year, we had already started talks with Swissborg, and that's how we partnered up with them. Because Swissborg was really the first company to reach out to us and told us, hey, we kind of like what you do. This is important. We feel like this is, we have a lot of the similar core beliefs like you guys. Let's get together and figure out how we can make the space more transparent. And that's really how it came all about. And I think this is really already at the core of what we do. We aim to help companies like crypto exchanges like Swissborg, but also asset managers who want to build funds or indexes, crypto indexes, sustainable indexes, We want to help them empower customers like you guys, maybe you were here today, to make crypto investments with sustainability in mind. That's really our ultimate goal. Because when we got together and did all the research all together, we figured if we really want to make a change in the world, we should share all the findings with the world outside. And yeah, today, like I told you, we already have about 50 coins and tokens live on the website, and they're free for everyone to check and see. And yeah, I hope you get you have already visited us at greencryptoresearch.com, and if not, then please do.
I'll drop the link in the chat for anyone who wants to have a look at their website to try and find either if they have questions, if they want to give feedback, or anything like that. I do have one first question for you guys. I see that your services, so you investment solutions, exchanges, blockchain networks, and partnerships. So you really advise people and help them to have a more sustainable portfolio, let's say. Do you think that it might impact their financial performance if they go for a full sustainable method of choosing what they want to offer?
Yeah, what we think is really that, especially the governance space, like for example, looking at Terra, we actually didn't give them such a good rating because we saw quite some open questions. Of course, saying that we saw it coming would be too much, but we had definitely our doubts, and because just also how the whole decision making was structured. So you still have some black sheep, we would say, in this market. It's getting better, and especially the big projects like Cardano, etc., they are doing actually very well, and it's very transparent how they come to their decisions, etc. But overall, especially if you go to a bit smaller projects, I think looking there to have a good rating, I think that's absolutely key. And also, I think we target different kinds of investors, of course, and we believe that especially very big players like institutional investors, family offices, they probably care a bit more about sustainability than just the average retail crypto investor. And so we absolutely believe that looking at ESG is also paying off in long term.
Right. And if I may add to that, maybe it's important to say what we don't do. We don't actually do financial advising. We just provide ESG ratings to help people make decisions on their own. But they still need to be they still need to research on their own if they want to invest in it or not, right? What we also do not do is we don't take money, for instance, for rating cryptocurrencies. This is a question we get a lot because it's really important to us that we stay independent. So when we partner up with someone like Swissborg, it's to help make the market more transparent, and because we believe cryptocurrencies need to be assessed holistically, and they need to be comparable to other industry standards such as stock, bonds, real estate, and stuff. So that's why it's a very difficult question to ask. But of course, like Tim said, yes, we believe in ESG investments in general. That it's more of a personal kind of belief. Like for instance, I myself, I only have sustainable investments going, not just crypto in general.
Amazing.
Because,
yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, but there's also one of these big ideas in crypto. It's something that's also, at least let's say for Bitcoin, for example, partially designed to give power back to the individuals and to decentralize finance. At least that's also one of Swissborg's missions, and making information more accessible and making governance more important is also probably something that's going to help the growth of a certain asset, because at the end of the day, it's one of the main utilities that crypto is supposed to be offering. So it's also cool for you guys to be looking at this and actually spending a lot of time finding out which ones are the most efficient and the least as well.
And if I may add one point to this, We know like sustainability is also a very emotional topic. Some people think not too well about it. For example, if we give Bitcoin not such a good rating, but what we always try to do is like really be pragmatic about it and just try to look at it on from a neutral standpoint, what we think is a fair assessment. For each crypto.
I think if we can hop on that, because it's definitely a question that's going to come out. You rated Bitcoin a D, which is let me check, but I think that's what it was.
Yeah, that's correct. It's a D.
Yeah. Could you elaborate a little bit on that so that we can get this this taboo topic out of the way?
Sure.
Sure.
Tim, you want to take this one?
You can also, I know that you wrote a great blog post.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you can also start if you want.
Okay, sure. So yes, it's true. Bitcoin is rated a D, and maybe just explaining how the rating works, right? It's a relative rating. It's a benchmark, crypto against crypto. We compare cryptos with each other, and this is the first comment that we usually get is, at least with Bitcoin, you can measure emissions and power consumption, whereas in many other industries you're not able to. And that's true, of course. But as for the rating, we compare the cryptocurrencies in their own space. So we don't compare different industries, because then what's the point of a rating? It's a relative ranking, meaning that we have we have environmental social governance, and we we always assign the overall rating is the worst rating of the three, because we think you cannot compensate for a bad rating in either category. So even if you're a D in social, you will, and an A and an A minus and a B plus in the other two categories, you will still get a D overall. So that's what happened with Bitcoin. Bitcoin has a D minus in environmental score, a B in social score, and a B plus in the governance score, based on about 110 data points that we sourced. And maybe we get into the data points in a little bit, but that's in general, because we take the worst rating of all three, that means a D minus. Then we also get the question a lot when talking about green mining. And due to the data points that we analyze, green mining is not actually, of course, it helps a little bit in the score, but it doesn't really improve the overall score, because it just turns the environmental score from an original D minus with regularly minted Bitcoin to a D plus. So it will still stay a D overall.
Maybe I can add maybe just 2-3 points to it. Like, of course, everything is subjective, right? It's our assessment, and we understand that some people see it differently. Like, yeah, as you said, Isabel, first of all, like the environmental aspect with Bitcoin is just something that we weight quite a lot. Maybe other people would weight it less, but for us, the huge power consumption for us is just a very huge factor. That's why we give it a very strong weight and rating. But I would also like to stress what's good about Bitcoin, just what we assessed as very good. And this is, for example, that like in the governance space, that the network is very secure. There have not been governance issues. It's very transparent also how the decisions are made. So this is also what we liked. But for example, also in the governance space, to add one example here is, for example, the numbers of validators that have a lot of the computing power there is quite low. And for example, other blockchains are much more distributed there. So this is also an example here, just to mention what was the driving factor for it. But also, for example, social, also we also gave it quite a good point to it. For example, there are not a lot of big holders, which is the case for other cryptos, for example, Ripple. But this is not at all the case for Bitcoin. It's very much decentralized. So there are like good and also bad points within the rating.
I think that's really an important point that Tim highlights here. It depends on the data points you analyze. And Bitcoin scores low in environmental, mainly because of electronic waste. That's an important data point for us. And also due to the very high power consumption per transaction, where we believe it doesn't really matter if the source is sustainable, you still use all that power. And that's why the rating, even with green mining, stays low, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. To bounce back on something that you just said, Tim, comparing Bitcoin with Ripple, for example, in terms of holders. So you guys have been over loads of projects, loads of tokens that were very different from one another. Have you come across any that were surprising, or you had different expectations from what you found out by doing the in-depth research that you guys conduct generally?
Okay, yeah, many things are surprising. I'm a bit hesitant to put forward one project, but we are always super excited when we see very like projects that score very well. And yeah, for example, recently we came across these findings with looking at Near protocol. Like they're doing very good. Everything is super transparent. That's why we think it's really an exciting project. So that would be an example.
Okay, and you had the assumption that it wouldn't do as well. Not necessarily that it would do badly, but just you were surprised and good.
Um, yeah, it was just step by step for us revealing that wow, they're quite best in class in many things that they do.
Cool. There was a question from one of our community members saying CHSB has a B in almost every ESG rating. What are the aspects that pulled it down from a better rating on the different criteriums you guys look at?
So the problem here is Ethereum. One of the main problems why the rating is not an A. Because Ethereum right now, it's still proof of work, and that's per se gets a lower score because it's got higher power consumption, of course, and because CHSB is running on Ethereum to a great extent. That's how the deduction comes in, because what we did is we have a different type of rating for native coins and an additional one for tokens. They're not exactly the same because, with tokens, we also analyze on what blockchains they run and have an automated data model, like a framework, where the scores of those blockchains and of those projects they run on, they're calculated into the score. So an Ethereum got a low score of C, so that kind of drags it down. But it will be interesting to see what happens when Ethereum, as we all are waiting and seeing, if it really changes in August, I think was communicated now that we will change the algorithm. And what happens then?
Oh, that would be interesting. So you will have to reassess every token that's on ERC20.
Correct. But we also, every 6 months, we go through all of them because there are so many changes happening. At least every 6 months or event-based. We check all of them again.
So you have 50 different tokens or crypto with a particular rating, and you have to go through everything again every 6 months?
Yes.
Wow.
But the goal is that it will be the 100 largest coins and tokens by market cap until the end of the year. So it will be even more work.
One of the questions that are maybe a little bit easier to answer would be how much greener are your personal portfolios compared to the average crypto holder or investor?
That's a cool question. I would say mine is probably pretty green, my personal portfolio, because I only invest in coins and tokens that are at least a B. But I have to admit, I also have Ethereum. I invested in Ethereum because due to the volatility. So this is my only C rated coin.
Cool.
Yeah, but maybe adding to Ethereum, we are very confident, and I think everyone is, that it will soon be proof of stake. So I think it should be fine. But yeah, also adding to that, for example, Dominic, also part of our team, he sold all his Bitcoin because it's not green enough. I didn't do it. I still have some, so probably not as green as it could be mine.
There's a lot to say. I think you will probably still hear people all the time saying, "Why did it get a D? Why did it get a D?" But hopefully this conversation was able to clear some of that out at least for the time being.
Also, right, but we had really, really great discussions with people who are really into Bitcoin. There is a Crypto Mondays in Zurich that we attended, the first one, and that was exactly the topic. And they said, listen, as long as the space is so volatile, we prefer resilience over sustainability. That's just more important to us at the moment. And I thought that was a valid point. I thought that was very interesting to hear, because we value sustainability very high.
Yeah, there's this sentence, you don't need to trust the people, you just need to trust the code. I think this is probably something they're going for on that one.
Right. Agreed.
Interesting question here. Some of the crypto companies travel, go to events, do merchandising, and do marketing in different places. Is this taken into account when doing the rating, and or could it be?
No, it's not. It's a valid point, but yeah, it would be just impossible to really rate across coins, tokens.
Yeah, I think trying to trace every employee that goes to every place, how they go, what they do, how long they stay, would definitely be. Yeah, and then if you wanted to do something in depth like that, you also have to try and find a ratio of vegans, for example, because they arguably consume less. But yeah, I think there's yeah, you have to set some precise lines at some point, otherwise you just get lost in it for sure. Couple of more questions. Yeah. So from what we understand, you guys are a B2B model. How is that different from being B2C? How is your revenue stream affected by this?
Well, we for B2C, we find it important for people who privately invest and privately want to inform themselves. Their ratings are completely free. But of course, they can always just check the homepage and decide based on that. But for B2B, if you want to actually use our logo, for instance, to build an asset product or an index or something like that, if you base the structure on our ratings, that's when we partner up, and then that's really where we get our revenue from.
And you mentioned that you wanted to stay independent.
Yeah, that's why you cannot pay for a rating.
And maybe adding for the listeners here, what we also are working on currently is to really just build the website completely new, because now it's still quite basic, as I would say, with goal to also really make very interesting metrics public, also just for retail investors, for everyone to look at our website and get a lot of interesting insights there as well.
Correct. For instance, one of those points that you mentioned, Tim, is probably we look at data quality as well. So on a new website that's coming out in about a month, we have done pages for each and every cryptocurrency on their own. And there we also showcase, while this does not necessarily highly influence the rating, but we also tell you whether the data quality is really good, it's medium, or it's poor. Because it's not always 100% the same.
Yeah, and maybe one example also what we will publish is, for example, the inflation rate. And for me personally, I haven't really looked too deeply in inflation rate, for example, when I was investing in cryptocurrency, which I should have probably, because it's such a big influencing factor on the price as well. So this is also something that we will list there as an example.
There was one of the questions as well that go more into what you guys believe is more or less important as a company. Speaking of subjective criterias, you weigh, for example, power consumption very high. Are there other crypto ESG ratings that weigh much more than the others?
Yes, that's a good one. Yeah, basically what we did is really we built it from scratch. So we looked for, especially in the stock market, we looked how frameworks are built up there currently, like ESG frameworks, for example, by MSCI, etc. And so we really thought, okay, what do we need to, what's relevant for cryptocurrencies, and in the E part, we really put in power consumption and also electronic waste. These are really the two main aspects, because also electronic waste, when you have all these mining devices, they don't live forever. You also have to buy them anew from time to time, and this is also a big factor.
Yeah, I think in general, the quantitative information has a high importance, and the subjective information, like I said, outlook on what's happening, or outlook to reduce the carbon footprint is a bit less important. Or let's just say it's more difficult to find good information on it.
Yeah. And and as something that you mentioned earlier on, which I found was really cool, is the fact that just by paying for another company to offset whatever you're producing isn't enough to make you suddenly boom environmentally friendly. I think that's something that
Yeah.
sometimes a lot of, let's say, news articles or people look over. They think, oh, they're carbon neutral, so suddenly it's all good for the planet. But at the end of the day, they're not really. They just buy the rights to pollute from another company, or just offset by paying someone to get the quote right to pollute and be able to try and make marketing stunts with that amount that they've paid off. And I think it's cool that you guys take that into consideration and put an importance on it.
Thank you. Yeah, it's important to us too.
There are a couple of questions. There is one. Have you guys looked at the Cosmos ecosystem? And if you have, what do you think of it?
Actually, it's a very good question, because it's a work in progress. I'm currently looking into it. I'm basically halfway through, so it's a bit too early to already tell more about it. But overall, it's proof of stake, and yeah, it's looking quite good, if this helps.
So far, so good.
Yeah.
Interesting. So, and when you guys publish a new rating, where do you publish it? Is it only on the website, or do you actually make a post saying, "Hey, look, we've wrote this blog article writing, this is everything that we found"?
We are very active on social media, especially on Instagram and on LinkedIn, and partially also on Twitter. Also, that's always where we announce the new ratings. But of course, our main tool to work with is the homepage.
And here we go.
And it certainly will be on the Swissborg app.
Yes,
if you have it
when
listed.
when we list the token, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Is CHSB listed on the website?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. But you, if you go in, if you are on our homepage, you find ratings, and below ratings you find different categories, and one of them is tokens. And then you see all the tokens listed on there, and one of them is Swissborg's CHSB.
Cool. Nice. So here we go, Kendo. Yes, it is. Thank you for your answer. With that said, I'll be doing one more giveaway in the live chat, and this was the last question. Do you have anything that you want to say to the 20 people who are listening to us right now?
Yeah, sure. I mean, thank you very much for listening in. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. And yeah, please drop us any questions that you have on our contact form on the website, and follow us on all our social channels to be updated.
Yeah, thanks a lot also from my side. Very good questions, and also in general feedback is also very welcome all the time.
Yeah, thank you very much for dropping by. Guys, I've left the LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram in the comments. You can see it still. It's just a little bit higher up in the SB Coffee text. There's also the link for the giveaway there. Green Crypto Research, thank you very much for joining the Smart Talk. It was a pleasure talking to you guys. I really like what you're doing on a personal level also, so it was a great honor for me to have you here. And yeah, I hope that we'll see you another time.
Yeah, thank you very much. It was great being here.
Thanks a lot. It was a pleasure.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Cheers.
Bye, guys.
Bye.